Okay, let's take a closer look at the 8-keyer transition module with the high-res touchscreen. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the menu button, and that can bring up different functionality of this touchscreen. Like, let's say we display all of our backgrounds. But let's get back out of that and talk about stripe delegation for a second. So the program button is telling us that the program ME is delegated to this current stripe right now. So if we touch on that, that will show us all the MEs that have been acquired in this suite that we have access to. And so go ahead and, let's say, touch on ME2, for example. That's going to show us ME2. Notice 2 keyers went away to show us that ME2 is configured with 6 keyers right now, and you can have up to 8 keyers in an ME. Notice all the color coding is following, the Grass Valley color coding. There's a lock button in that upper right-hand corner that locks out the touchscreen operation, so you don't mess up anything while you're on the air. You can rest your palm on it, so forth and so on. So let's go ahead and unlock that and talk about that top row of text right there is showing us what type of transition we're in right now. So it's showing us that we're in mix all the way across the board because we have mix selected down there. We can go to the wipe 1. It'll show us that we're in wipe 1. We can go to the wipe 2. Show us that we're selected with wipe 2. We'll go back to the mix button. Now that next row of numbers down there is showing us the keyer priority for that particular ME. And all those numbers below that are showing us the auto trans rates for each one of the keyers, which are what we'll get when we hit these auto trans buttons on the right hand side. So notice there's a column of 8 auto trans buttons and a column of 8 cut buttons for all the 8 keyers in the system, so you can have quick access to those. Then our row of text down here shows us what sources are in those keyers. We've got font 1, font 2, bug, and so forth and so on. So at a glance, we can look down and see what source is loaded into those keyers. Now, the information below that, all those dots down there, we've got white dots, green dots, red dots, and orange boxes. That's given us a whole lot of useful information, and it's showing us, for example, the white dots are showing us that that keyer is in the primary partition. The green dot says that that keyer is in the secondary partition, and the red button shows that that keyer is currently active, that it's turned on. Those orange boxes are for the IDPMs and the 2DPMs, so that's telling us what type of DPM is delegated to that keyer. And then, of course, down here, we have 2 red buttons lit because that's showing us on key 3 that the keyers are in the primary, that's key 3 is in the primary and secondary partition, and it's active in both of those partitions. So that's what we're getting the 2 red dots for right there. So we could come over and operate our cut buttons here and see that the red buttons are going on and off to let us know that those keyers are active or they're not active. So at a quick glance, we can look down and see what's going on with those keyers from all that information in that lower row. Now, if we want to set up a next transition, let's say just a keyer, we've got these 8 keyer buttons across here. We can set up and start selecting there. For each one of those, I'm selecting just a keyer. So let's say I press and hold the background button and then hit the keyer buttons. Now I'm doing a multiple delegation. So you don't have to press and hold all the buttons simultaneously. As long as you're pressing and still holding the previous button, then you'll get that multi-latch function. So now we have these keyers set up here. If I do a double tap of the background button, it sets up a clean transition. So it goes clean. So if I use my lever arm, my cut, my auto buttons, it's going to go clean. Let's say we want to do a cross from keys 3, 4, 5, and 6 that are turned on right now to key 1. So if I do the double tap again, but on the second tap, go ahead and hold the background button down. So I'll do that double tap and hold the background button down. Then I can select key 1 at the same time, and then that's going to set up a cross from keys 3, 4, 5, and 6 to key 1. Set up a clean cross. So whether we're using the lever arm, the cut, or the auto trans buttons, it's going to set that up for us. And then we also have down here this row of transitions. We can have, the different user transitions. We've got the cut and the auto trans button and the background and mix buttons, and those can be moved around in the menu just like the current modules can. You can also move those into the user pref menu when you go in there, depending on your preference and how you like to operate. Then we've got the traditional lever arm over here. When we move that, it's showing us the green LEDs are showing us the progress of that. We can split it. The right side would operate the secondary. The left side would operate the primary side. And so that is the missing ME or the floating ME button up there. And right now it's currently purple because that's got ME4 under it. So if I hit that, And then that will delegate this row to ME4, so we can momentarily work on ME4. Then we can hit that again and take us back to program. There's a pattern limit button up there. There's an effects run button up there, which allows us to do local or master emem run from the auto trans button on this module right here. So that's a basic overview of the new transition module.